So what made me look into possibly having ADHD is Facebook. I actually saw this post about how it presented itself in young girls. And so I saw this list, and if I can find it, then I'll put it into the video. But I saw this list on Facebook, and it was talking about how different ADHD is in young girls than there are in guys. So the stereotype for ADHD is like always moving around, hyperactive, can't seem to settle down. They're like, there's random outbursts. I don't really know. I didn't know too much about it. Sorry. I have like this chapstick on and it's really tacky. Like, it's like, I feel like my lips are glued together. Yeah, so I saw this list, and a few things on the list were, I have a notebook because there's no way I can remember all of this, or I'm trying to stay on track. So if you see me look down, I'm looking down at this notebook. So some of the things that the list said, ADHD in young girls is excessive talking. And if anybody knows me, especially my parents, shout out, they know I like to talk a lot. And when I was younger, I was in the office probably 3 times a week. I was really good acquaintances with the office, like receptionists and stuff. And I thought everybody had that relationship. Like, everybody was always in the office. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's Miss Carla's birthday. And they're just like, okay, why do you know that? And I'm like, you're not friends with her? I see her all the time. 7th grade, Mr. Giordano's English class, I was in detention every single day. There was not a day I wasn't in detention. And it was all because of talking. Nothing else. Like, in class, like, I was always talking. But I just feel like if you're telling me something and I'm not paying attention, that's your problem. No, it was all my fault. Like, I was just really talkative, and yeah, whatever. Emotional outbursts, I was kind of, it honestly depended. Like, I would have oh yeah, my puff is it's getting a little height on it, little volume. My hair is growing back in. I know. What was I? Emotional outbursts. So I would get, like, random things would upset me. Somebody could call me fat. Somebody could, like, nothing bothered me about that. But somebody was like, I don't know. I can't think of an example. But I know for a fact that in band, I played the trombone, and I hit this kid next to me with the trombone just because he was talking too close to my ear. Like, he sat next to me and he was talking to the kid next to him, and I just kept hearing his voice in my ear, and something about it just set me off. So I took my trombone, I slid it out, and of course I got sent to the office, and my principal was like, what are you doing? And I was just like, I don't, and it sounds stupid, like, it sounded stupid trying to explain to him why I was so ticked off. Like, he was like, okay, what was he doing? And I was like, he was talking. And my principal was just like, okay, but what was he doing? And I'm just like,
he was talking.
Like, he was next to me and he was talking. And yeah, I couldn't explain it. Another time I pushed my cousin. He's a close family friend, but we used to refer to each other as cousins. I pushed my cousin out of his seat for answering a question that I wanted to answer in class. Like, the teacher was asking, and I already knew the answer, and I kept saying, I was like, oh my God, pick me, pick me. But I was one of those people that always had their hand up, so the teacher looks over you, they're like, you answered too many times. That also pisses me off. Like, if I know the answer, call me. So I was like, pick me, and I kept saying the answer like under my breath, and my cousin raised his hand and answered, and I got so pissed that he got credited for something that I knew. So, you know, I got a wave of anger and I shoved him out the chair. And I guess my teacher knew that that was not a normal response, because instead of sending me to the office, he actually sent me to the guidance counselor. But nothing actually ever stemmed from that, so. But yeah, shout out to Mr. G for at least kind of recognizing that that was not a normal response. Like, that was whatever. But my whole grade school, elementary, middle school, junior high experience was me always getting in trouble. I've been suspended 3 times for ridiculous things. I was always talking. I was always getting in trouble. And the grades part that's a huge factor. Like, having bad grades apparently is a trademark of ADHD kids. I was always labeled as a troublemaker. Like, people would always be like, oh yeah, you're always getting in trouble. People are always like, whatever. I knew I was smart. My whole life, I've been told I was smart. I know I'm smart. That's not bragging. I know I'm intelligent. But my grades do not reflect that intelligence. Like, they never have. I'm not sure if they will. I'm working on that, but I'm not sure if they will. And I have a habit of just like falling off. Like, well, in grade school, there was quarters, right? I started each quarter, and in college, my pen dropped. In college, I started off each semester well. Like, I had a plan. I was like, you know what? This is going to be my year. And then I don't know, something happened. And by the end of it, I was struggling. Like, and going back to grade school, like, my teachers would just be like, Nicole, why aren't you doing this correctly? Like, why can't you turn in homework? Somehow I lost homework between my home and school. But I don't know how many people watching this actually went to private school, but you would think that there was more resources than there was. But I found out that public schools actually have more resources because they're required by law to be able to like help special needs students, help kids with disabilities, like all that other stuff. I've never had a school nurse. That just wasn't a thing. And all these like symptoms, I actually never finished the list of symptoms, but basically it was constant interrupting, which I did all the time, trouble paying attention, me, daydreaming, messy room, bathroom, locker, backpack, cubby, desk. Ever since I was little, like, I just can't stay organized. My thoughts aren't organized, and that reflects in just like my environment. And I struggle because I walk into my room and I purposely just don't look at anything because I know for a fact that it needs to be cleaned. I'm not comfortable with it looking the way that it looks most of the time, but there's like, I physically can't do anything about it. Like, I'll clean my room and literally the same day, it's a disaster. And I just get so angry about it because I feel helpless, and people on the outside just see me as lazy. All my teachers would just say, like, you're lazy, you're not trying hard enough, you have so much potential.
Why do I keep dropping this pen?
And honestly, that's a phrase I hate when people say you have so much potential, because I just felt like an underachiever. Like, nobody saw me and like pictured somebody that could have like a learning disability or whatever. Like, I know my school didn't have the resources. I'm Black, so my parents weren't really about to give me a label or anything like that. Like, my parents, the Black community and like mental health is not the best. I was looking at this list and basically I fit everything. I saw it and I was like, wow, that's my whole life. So that kind of got me thinking, and I didn't want to like self-diagnose. So after seeing the list on Facebook, I was like, you know what? Let me go do some research. So I looked at more lists about how it presents in young girls, and yeah, everything pretty much fit. Like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So then I started looking at articles, YouTube videos, basically anything like Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook pages regarding adult ADHD, like if it presents the same, because a lot of people think that ADHD is something that you grow out of, and I think a third of the people that are diagnosed with it grow out of it when they become adults, and like they're able to kind of focus and like hone in on what they need to do, but there's 2/3 of that doesn't. So I looked at what occurs in adults, and I was mind blown. I was like, you know what? I need to go talk to somebody about this. So there's impulsivity. Regarding impulsivity, I'm really bad at this. Like, I guess, okay, so ADHD people, we have no impulse control. So that's, a lot of people are at risk for getting addicted to stuff, or like overeating. I'm fat. I also have a thyroid issue, but like I go into modes where I don't eat at all, or I only eat, and like I think that's the impulse control. I have no balance. ADHD people, adults, are not good with handling money because of the impulse thing and being disorganized. And the amount of times I get overdrafted on my account, I can't save money for shit. I get a paycheck, it's gone. I don't think for the future. I think for right now. Like, I'm like, I have money right now. Why don't I just spend it? Hyperfocus. A lot of people think that ADHD people are incapable of focusing, which a lot of the times that's true, but at the same time, there's this thing called hyperfocus, and you zone in for hours. If you've ever seen a kid play like video games for 8 hours straight without moving, that's how it is with certain, it's not always video games, but like that's how it is with certain things. I think I saw an article that explained it, like our brain is trying so hard to focus, and we try every day to like become normal and whatever, so it just zones in on one thing, but it could be the dumbest thing. I once spent all of a class period watching this kid shake his leg, and like the whole class period, there was nothing else of interest to me, and that's hyper focus. It's just on the wrong thing. Like, I need to, other people can kind of control, like they're like, you know what, I don't want to do this homework assignment, but I need to do it. So they can sit down, they can get their little assignment out, do it, whatever, and that's fine. But me, I can hyper focus. I can't choose what I'm focusing on. So if I binge watch a show for like 2 days straight, that's my only focus. Sometimes I actually do get in modes where like I'm doing an assignment, but if I'm hyper focused on an assignment, I can't get up. I can't stop. I can't go anywhere else. I have to sit there and finish it. I won't eat. I won't sleep. I won't drink. Like, that's my focus. ADHD people are usually outgoing, and that's because of the talkative thing. So that's more of like a positive outlook. Like, all of the symptoms or whatever aren't bad. It's just a way of honing it in and turning it into an asset instead of something that's to be like regretted. Relationship problems, that's a whole other issue, but I've had issues with friendships, and when I read like why that happened, it made sense. I don't have time to get into it. Listening skills, I try so hard to listen to people. I really do. Like, I actually love hearing about people's lives and stuff like that, but if people just keep going and going and going the way that I tend to, like, if it has nothing to do with me, I don't care, but I want to care. And like, if it's exciting, I'm like, oh my God, like, that's great. I can't believe that happened to you, whatever. But if people are just talking about mundane things, I check out. And I try not to, and I really try to focus, and that's when I start just like nodding and whatnot. But it could be 30 seconds into what they're saying, and they're like, they'll end it, and I'm like, what? I wasn't listening. So with my friends, they know not to get offended if I was like, I need you to start over because I didn't hear anything that you said. But with like strangers, I come off as rude, and I don't mean to be. I really don't mean to be, but it's just, yeah. Always on the go. I am a very spontaneous person, which is another good thing about it. But at the same time, I was reading articles and watching videos that link ADHD to just like can't hold down a job because you get bored in that position and then you gotta move. They have issues settling down. Like, say if I met a guy, started a family in Maryland, and I don't know, like I would just feel discontent after a little bit and want to move to Florida. Then I'd want to move to like Colorado. Then I want to move across seas to London. And that's an issue. Like having somebody that's never fully satisfied is difficult. Also in that same article, they said that a lot of ADHD people switch majors a lot because they they get restless in their position and whatever. I switched majors from English education and English education to mass communication, and now I'm criminal justice. And I like where I am now. I'm not changing it. I need to hurry up and graduate. I'm already like a gazillion years behind my schedule. But yeah, it makes sense because I was sitting there and I was like, wow, I loved this major when I first started it, and then what happened? And I couldn't figure it out, and I lost interest, and that was it. But yeah, I love my major. I like the classes regarding my major, so I think I'm good. Sleep issues, I think it's weird when people get more than like 5.5 hours of sleep. I don't know what that's like. I've never been able to sleep. This is not something that's new. When I was younger, I was always up late, always like, yeah, my sleep schedule. Yeah, there's nothing else to say about that. I have a terrible sleep schedule. And lateness. ADHD people have issues with time management. And so there's a lot of problems like getting to class on time, getting to work on time, getting something in on time. Okay, so the science behind it, which I did a lot of research on because I wanted to know why. Like, I've never been the type of person to be on time or early for something. It takes a lot for it to happen. So I'm not a science major, so don't judge me, but like in the frontal lobe for like, decision making and all that other shit happens. And for regular people, they're able to prioritize and say, you know what, I need to get to class, and this little part lights up and stimulus goes there, and they're like, all right, my decision is that I'm getting to class on time. For ADHD people, they need an extreme burst of stimulus in order to like get their shit together. So if they're bored, that's just dead. Like, normal things already bore us. So if it's like boring, like sitting in class or something, like there's just nothing happening. There's nothing telling us that we need to go. So like, in terms of assignments, I usually wait till the last possible second to do my assignment because then it's a race against the clock and there's no other choice but to sit there and finish my work. Like there's no other option. And I found out that that's normal for ADHD people because that like race against the clock, beat the buzzer feeling sends that stimulus that we need to the front of our brain and we get the work done. But that's not advised. Like, that's not a good thing. And it's really hard to go against that. When I study or like pull an all-nighter or do homework, I drink a lot of energy drinks like just in life, I drink a lot of energy drinks, and other people that I know were like, that's not healthy, you should stop. And then some people are like, I would be bouncing off the walls. Like, how are you calm? How are you sitting there and doing your work? So when I started going to therapy, she said that's normal. Like, caffeine and all that stuff actually sends the stimulus we need to the front of our brain. So while other people are bouncing around because of the energy drink or the large coffee or whatever, I'm sitting there and I'm focused. I'm ready to do what I need to do. So that's kind of just like a beginner's, I don't know, like an introduction to how ADHD presented in me. And I guess other people, like, if I was saying these things and you thought about something that somebody that it might apply to, I mean, if you're not friends with them, don't say like, hey, you should probably look into ADHD. But like, I don't know, if somebody came to mind, you might be able to help them. You might be able to say like, hey, I saw this cool article that I think you should read, or like, I don't know, just something like that. Going in depth would be a whole different video. Yeah, hope you liked it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.